In the grand scheme of things, there are primarily three categories of people. People orchestrating reality, those living in the reality, aware of the reality, and those living the reality, unaware of that reality. For those who are not fully aware of the sinister concepts, that is genetic transmutation, or the long ancient idea or ideology of the Western community of possessing the mass land through population control. For that part of the section, I believe you'll fall in the later or the latter aspect of the people living in our reality. Now for you guys, I'm going to play you a video showing Bill Gates talking about population control and how he relates the issue of the current state of the world. Talking about global warming and all of this stuff that really doesn't exist. Relating it with the population of the people in poorer nations. You know, this thing about poorer nations, you know, we have to really start asking, what are these poor nations? I need to understand what is poor nations. Are we talking about nations where the majority of the world resources, the cobalt, the diamonds, the gold, the silver, is being exported and taken from to build the rest of the world, or where the majority of the human resources? I don't understand the term poor. The only poverty I see in Africa is mental poverty and spiritual poverty, of which we are rich in a storehouse, you know. So these poor nations they're talking about, clearly we're talking about the Pakistans and we're talking about the Africans. So they are trying to, you know, they're not even trying, they're telling us that our populace and our population, the rate at which it grows is alarming, and it's cause for death, for kill. Now this is a sinister concept, but when you understand it, you can put one and two together and you really see why.
Now the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. The problem is that the population is growing the fastest where people are less able to deal with it. So it's in the very poorest places that you're going to have a tripling in population by 2050. And so their ability to feed, educate, provide jobs, stability, protect the environment in those locations mean they're faced with an almost impossible problem.
You really see why we are in a big mess. So when you watch this video, first of all, he speaks on very calmly on how the population by a certain year is going to be affecting the way the world operates, which is a lie. There's a lot of land that we're not even aware of. And then he speaks of how we can control that. We can control that through what? Vaccinations. Now, even a toddler can figure this out. We are told that they're trying to control the most populous parts of the world because that's a threat. And the best way is through biological and genetic means, primarily through vaccinations. And right now, they're trying to sponsor billion vaccinations to the poorer nations. And I just showed you a video of what happens with the vaccines. And we're not even going to start on like what the whole thing entails. Clearly, we can see a connection here. Clearly, we can see a connection here. And this is something we have to do about. Primarily, there are going to be people who would not just care. That's fine. There's always people who would not care. There's going to be people who care. Those are people I'm talking to. Whatever you do, you have to stay human. And this is ancient prophecy. You have to stay human. Figure that out.